Hi, my name is Kristen Triplett, and I am a student in the Professional and Ethical Orientation to School Counseling course at BVU. This is a presentation called Consulting Outside Resources. The purpose of this presentation was to dissect an article, a research article from a credible resource such as the Ask a School Counselors magazine, which is where my article is from. And then take that information and put it into a presentation so that peers can utilize it in their everyday practice. So my article was School Counselors' Liability in Referring to Outside Counselors. This was by Carolyn Stone, and it was really interesting. It took a court case in Florida of a 14-year-old girl, and ultimately the school counselor was negligent because they only referred one outside resource when the parents sought help. This outside resource then abused his privileges, sexually abused the student, and like I said, it came back that truly the school counselor was liable, because they didn't follow up. They didn't go with the district mandated policy, which required a list that was predetermined. So I'm going to go into how you can avoid those situations and definitely takeaways to applying it to your own district. So here's the information on my article. The APA citation is found here. And then additional resources. These were two articles that I found in correlation as I was further researching, looking into outside resources. So if you need additional information, these were two places that I thought were really helpful, and they just gave a little more insight about policy and how it can be applied to your school. So check those out if you do get a chance. So the court case that I spoke about earlier was Smith versus the School Board of Orange County in Florida. This was back in 1994, and the student, we're going to call her KW, her parents requested information. They thought she needed help as a 14-year-old girl, and the counselor at that time in the school gave the parents the name of one counselor or therapist in the area, and he ran an outpatient treatment center. Well, his name was Ron Markham. And Markham, he decided that the student needed to be put under his custody for 24 hours, which the mother was really skeptical about, and reached back out to the school with no response from the school counselor. And then this Markham proceeded to sexually abuse this student for the next 2.5 months, sadly enough. And again, there was no correspondence between the school counselor and the mother after that initial recommendation. So once everything came out about Markham's behavior, the court did state that the school had a threshold duty to make a referral of only a district-approved program. Now, the unfortunate part was that the district did have in place a list of only recommended counseling services, so the school counselor did not abide by that policy. And it was really made evident in the article that the counselor should have followed up with KW's mother, especially because she expressed concern, and the counselor would have found that Markham's treatment was inappropriate, and it wasn't even against his licensure, and come to find out that he even had a criminal record. So that liability really truly fell on the school because of the school counselor's negligence. So as I was reading through this article, I was muddling through some questions that I thought about, especially as a first-year counselor in a district who currently doesn't have a list of recommended counselors that, I didn't make, the district hasn't made. So these were some things that I came up with. So what is the district's policy on referral? So currently I'm at HMS, and we don't have a distinct policy about referral, and that's going to change here soon. Because that policy is going to be word, everyone will follow it. currently we don't have a predetermined list, so then you think about who's making that list. My last point there is, who do you collaborate with in the district so that the services are meaningful. Once that list is made, what kind of relationships do you need to form with those counselors and outside services? So those were some questions that I had just for myself and for my district, and then moving forward, I thought maybe people would have those questions also. So some takeaways that I got from this article: that every district truly should have an approved list of referrals, and those can be counseling and therapies. In addition, there should be a list of ways to obtain food help, housing, employment, healthcare. The article did offer this website, www.211.org. As well as Mental Health America has 240 affiliates to provide referrals for different needs, and that URL can be found in my presentation here. So, every district does need that list, and how you make that list and with who you make that list is up to you, but there really truly does need to be a district approved list. Takeaway number 2 is, if the school counselor solely has to make this list, anybody put on that list should hold a license at a minimum, so that a master's degree and even additional training in the qualifications of that license should be known to the counselor making the list. The school counselor should also encourage the parents to encourage whoever they choose from that list to do a background check references, look at that counselor's license, and if at any time they don't feel comfortable with the services that they're providing, then to end them immediately and seek other options. So the third takeaway is that when you are providing lists to parents, you don't want to, exhibit any favoritism. So there shouldn't be any ranking in the list, and they shouldn't be highlighted with, the benefits of one resource over the other. So that was one thing that really stuck out to me too, is you don't want to look like there's a priority within that list. So what does this look like for our students with special needs? Because many times students with special needs or on IEPs do need a counseling component. So many people do know that school districts may not charge qualified students for these type of services, and there's a list of some examples of those services in the presentation, but a district can be held responsible if the district mandates that student receive the outside services as part of their agreement for school attendance. So those are really things to be aware of, because you don't want to find yourself liable in paying for that student to obtain those services if you're saying that they're an absolute requirement for them to attend your school. So to bring this in summary, this definitely brought light to what policies are necessary to have when you're recommending a student to outside services. It's critical to have a district approved list. Make sure that the people that you're recommending have at least a qualified license, and there is no priority or ranking when giving parents that list. So it's just a straight bullet list with no ranking to determine who you think's best and who you think's at the bottom of the totem pole. So some questions that still linger for me as I move forward with getting my district to make a school policy about referral: which staff should be included when creating this resource list? I want to pull different, calibers of expertise. I want to pull some board members, administration, so that we get a really sound group of people who can make those recommendations. I also need to determine what type of counseling or therapies should be sought for the list. I want to determine when this is reevaluated. So is it updated yearly? Is it updated every other year. So that will be determined by the people making the list with myself. And then what's the furthest distance that a resource should be from the school district? We want it to be convenient for students and families, but we definitely want to give them enough of a choice so that they don't feel like they're only offered 3 people and they have to go to those 3. So what is the radius from our school that we're going to reach out to for resources? So that was really a great piece of what I needed in my growth and development as a young counselor, because I've had to make recommendations due to situations that are out of the realm of my knowledge and experience in current, licensure. So this was a piece that is really helping me move forward as a pre-service counselor, and I hope that it helps you also. Have a great night.